Last year I won this 5k race in my hometown, so walking up to the start line this year I had two goals: to win the race and beat my own course record. I had no idea how tough the competition would be, but I met this one guy before the start that looked really fast. Do I have to see you as a threat for the win, do you think?
Absolutely not.
You're not using your webs or anything like that?
No, I don't think that's allowed.
At the start line I was a bit frustrated that a whole football team of youngsters and a guy with crutches had taken the best positions. But I found a spot close to the start line and was focused to get a good start to the race.
3, 2, 1,
These guys also do a slight false start, causing me to get stuck behind these football kids. When I clearly see my two main competitors getting out in front, I get a bit stressed wanting to get the back of those runners, but I try to keep calm, and I'm pretty convinced that the sprint of these kids would probably only hold for maximum 200 meters. And finally I get the space to close the gap to the two leaders. And from this point I'm convinced that these two guys, Jonas and Thomas from a running club in Oslo, will be my main competition. And since they have started out in a pace that feels pretty fast for me, I decide to just stick to their backs in the beginning and hopefully be able to make a move later on. When passing the arena where we will finish in 5 kilometers, another guy catches up with us, so now we are 4 in a leading group and I'm feeling pretty good, but I really don't want to overdo it, since I know that not pacing yourself too fast the first kilometer is crucial when wanting to get the best out of yourself in a 5k. So I actually let the two front guys get a little bit of a gap up this hill, and my plan is to slowly close that gap in this slight downhill we're entering. As we approach the first kilometer, I have managed to catch up to the leaders and we are once again just 3 runners in the front group. I hit the first kilometer split in 3:27, which is a perfect opening pace for me with my current shape, and I'm also happy that it is 3 seconds faster than I did the first kilometer last year. But running this second kilometer, just trying to stay to the backs of Jonas and Thomas, I had hoped that I would feel a bit better. I'm starting to feel the pace a bit, and we run the second kilometer in a 3:24 split. Now I'm 8 seconds ahead of my 1 year younger self. Heading into the third kilometer, that is the most demanding of the course, with lots of sharp turns and one pretty big uphill section. I feel that the pace is so high for me, so I just try to stay in third position and run as relaxed as possible to hopefully save some energy. Coming into this downhill, they speed up the pace a lot, and I just have to give a slight gap to them. But I'm for sure not ready to give up the win at this point. I'm not completely dead yet. I just feel that I gotta run a bit more even of a pace to save my legs, and hopefully I will slowly be able to catch up with them again. And once we get to this flat section, I can slowly but steadily catch up with them again, and at this point I don't feel super confident, but I also know that the uphill section that we just reached is the part of the course that favors me the most. So I decided to try to move up in front and push the pace a bit to try to get a gap. As I run up this hill, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, that is Coros, whose products helped me a lot when it came to actually pacing this race. I ran with this watch, the Coros Pace 3, that has all of the features you could wish for in a running watch, in a really lightweight package. I also used the Coros heart rate monitor that gives me the reliable heart rate data you can see on screen. And I used the Pod 2 that gives me really accurate real-time pace data that is much more responsive compared to not using a footpod and just the GPS data. So these great products from Coros not only help me pace this race as well as possible, it also provides me with a lot of great data you can see on screen and that I also can use to analyze my workouts and races afterwards. So thanks Coros for creating these great tools for us runners. I had really hoped that my push up that hill would create a gap, but Jonas and Thomas followed me up the hill and passed me again up here on the flat part. And this was really tough mentally, especially as they pushed the pace pretty hard directly after that hill, and I once again had to start giving them a small gap. At this point we had passed the 3k mark in 3:34, which, even if it was the slowest kilometer yet, by far was the hardest, taking into the consideration all the sharp turns and pretty steep uphill during that kilometer. And at this point I was 15 seconds ahead of my time from last year. But seeing Jonas and Thomas getting ahead of me and my legs really feeling it at this point, I was worried that I was going to have to give up on fighting for the victory, and that my hard push up that hill was going to cost me having a chance at beating my own time from last year, where I had a really strong finish. But I did my best trying to accept these negative thoughts and instead focus on what I can do here and now, and that was maintaining a sustainable pace while trying to keep the two leaders of the race as close as possible. And as we get to the last uphill of the course, I once again catch up with them. But just as I do that, I feel that they increase the pace just a bit. And I simply can't hold their backs at the end of this hill if I don't want to blow up my legs completely before the last kilometer. I passed the 4th kilometer on a split time of 3:28, so I have managed to keep the pace okay, but this 4th kilometer was where I really sped up last year, so I have lost a lot of time on my younger self. So now I'm only 6 seconds ahead of my time from last year. Jonas and Thomas in front have gotten a bit of a bigger gap, and I'm starting to realize that it will probably be hard to catch them again, but I want to finish as strong as possible to hopefully have a chance at beating my time from last year. So I decided to dig deep, and although I'm hurting at this point, I know that it is always possible to speed up a bit the last kilometer if you're ready to dig deep. Running through this last bit, I am so motivated of the thought of beating my younger self. And I think this is such a cool thing with running, that you can always compete against yourself, no matter what level you're at. I also want to make sure to keep my 3rd place, so that if someone is coming strong from behind, they will have to work hard to catch me this last bit. And who knows, maybe Spiderman has a strong second half of the race. Sprinting towards the finish line with the winner Jonas 17 seconds in front of me, I've had to give up on winning this race, but I still sprint with everything I got to hopefully beat my time from last year. There I finish in 3rd place after a last kilometer split of 3:18 that gave me a finishing time of 17:11, beating my 1 year younger self with 8 seconds, which I'm really happy about, being able to keep my shape through a hectic year with a lot of work, small kids and moving. And although I didn't win the race, at least I beat Spiderman. Thanks again to Coros for supporting my channel, and if you want to check out all of their great products, there's a link in the description.